Hey everybody, it's Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life. Welcome back to 30 Days of Sketches 4. This is the fun sketch we're working with today, and I believe it is from a European blog somewhere. But I am going to go ahead and use my Willow Lane collection for today. I love this collection. I've mentioned it a couple times, and when I saw the banners, I automatically thought of the specialty paper that had the cute animals in like little banner style things. However, I don't care for the animals. They're cute, but it's just not my thing. But the color tones that I chose the boy ones. I thought that a Barrett layout would work really well with that. And I have these two photos of him right when he was learning to crawl. He hadn't quite figured it out yet, but he was getting close. And so I'm going to go ahead and use those and create this layout. It's definitely, you can see the sketch in it. I go a little bit different, but you can still see it. And in order to fill the circles in with the animals, I'm just going to go ahead and take some scraps to fill them in, which you'll see in a second. But first, I have to come up with an idea to use some mixed media because I love the idea of those. I think it's mixed media in the sketch. I'm not really sure. However, I do not have hexagons, so I'm going to be using these triangles. I like triangles anyways. And I'm going to go ahead and trace them with my black Sharpie, just in a few areas. It wasn't enough of an effect for me. I wanted there to be more. And so you're going to see I go ahead and grab some of my teal shimmers and just spray. And I spray there. I also spray above the photo. And I'll come back and spray in a couple more areas at the end, which you'll see too. But I really love the way this looks. Definitely it gives you the same type of effect and look. It's just a different shape. So make sure when you are following sketches, if you don't have what you see in the sketch, you do not have to replicate it to the exact. I know there's some people that really like to do that. And if that's what you like to do, then by all means do that. Do what works for you. I can never stress that enough. However, if you don't have it or you want to still be able to use it in a certain way, you go into your stash and find what you have that you can make work. And that's what I did with this. So as I was looking at it, the little scallop that is from this pattern paper, I thought really needed some sequins. And so I'm going to use one of the October releases and go ahead and do a little bit of hand stitching. And I love the way this looks. I didn't leave any spaces. I literally put sequin on top of sequin on top of sequin, and it just really helps to highlight that little bit of a scallop that is going on there. And it brings in the colors that are from the pattern papers plus the mixed media. So it works perfectly. I use every single color except for the kind of jade green. It didn't really fit in with what I was trying to do. But yeah, spent a little bit of time and did the hand stitching, and that's why you'll see I'll come back and I'm in a new shirt. There's a lot of times when I go to scrapbook that I do not get my layout done within the day that I start it. Actually, I'm not sure that ever really happens. I have to scrapbook in such short amounts of time throughout the day that sometimes you'll see a video and I have 5 different shirts on. So that's my life, but that's how I get scrapbooking in, is doing it in these little short spurts at a time. I'm lucky if I get this process video itself is about 12 minutes, a little bit longer than normal. There's a little bit extra. It just took me a little bit longer to create, but I'm lucky if I can get a voiceover in before I have to go and be mom again. So yeah, it's just the way life is. I actually like it that way. I really like to kind of sit and ponder about my layouts. If they get done too fast, I feel like I didn't do enough. It's really silly. Even though if you add up all the time that I actually was actually at my desk creating, is probably the same amount of time if I just had 20 minutes or half an hour to scrap. But, I like it spread out apparently. It's just my thing. So I need a little bit more. So I went outside of the kit from the Willow Lane, and I went into my little baby collection that I have. Now, I believe most of this is Echo Park, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to go ahead and use the pattern papers from this. It was a 6x6 pattern paper that I got. And I believe this came either as a gift when Barrett was born, or I got it back in this past spring when I had a really, really big paper issues haul that I went ahead and purchased before I was on my spending freeze. And it could have been from that too. I'm not exactly sure, one or the other. But I just went ahead and I fussy cut out the circle of one of the pendants I wasn't going to use anyways. And that gave me, for the most part, the correct circle that I need to fit in most of them, with the exception of one or two. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut and do all of that and back the circles with different patterns. I'm also going to take my Sharpie pen again and do some black lines because there are black in the triangles. I'm trying to add them in other places as well, so you get that kind of sketchy feel throughout, even though it's super subtle and you may not notice it at first, but if you look closer, you will see that little thing. And a lot of times when you're doing these little touches, you do it because you almost notice it more if you don't do it versus if you do it. So it's kind of making sure that your layout looks like you did everything on purpose and it kind of everything makes sense. Whereas if you do something to one thing but not to the other, you're like, well, why did you do that here? And your eye for some reason catches what is standing out versus what has been done throughout the whole layout. So anyways, that is why I chose to do that. And now I have to decide if I'm going to put any pattern paper or anything on these photos. I do decide to go ahead and do a little bit. I had this Pink Fresh Studio. It is like a sticker. It maybe thickers. It might have had an alpha and backing, but it is a really soft gray, kind of striped, diagonal striped. And I'm going to use that to back my photos. I feel like it bounces it off just enough and it's got a nice look to it. And then on top of that, I'm going to use a little bit more teal, bringing in that green color because it's in a few places now. So you need to kind of highlight it. And this is kind of where I'm like, well, this is my main idea. I did my sequins where they need to go. But what do I do next? And I did not know. I had no idea. I really just kind of let it sit for a while. I started a couple other projects and just kind of left it because I just had no idea where to go from here. I liked it, but it needs a title and I have to figure out where the journaling's going. I need to kind of make it stay looking like the sketch, even though you can see it. I didn't know. So I had to walk away from this layout because of that. And eventually what I come up with is putting my title on a little card that I have. And I'm going to do a little bit more misting down at the bottom, which you will see. And then basically I kind of play around and add a few things onto the little pendants themselves so that they kind of blend in. And then I call it good for the most part. I do really love the way this layout turned out, even though it did take me a while. I tried really hard to use that chipboard piece because I just wanted something in that kind of upper left hand and it didn't work, but I do try it a bunch of times and then I'm like, okay, let's move on to my title. So my title is simply A Learning to Crawl. You will notice at first I don't spell the word crawl right. I forget the L. When I fix it and it's actually done and placed where it needs to be, it's correct. Don't worry, I caught myself. It's so funny when you're creating and you think everything looks right and then you re-look at it because I had walked away and I'm like, no, that's not how you spell that. It happens. Please make sure you head on over and check out Crystal and Christina's takes for this sketch. I hope you have been having fun following all three of us. I have asked a couple other of my friends to join throughout the month. I kind of just told them to pick a day and go ahead and I sent them that sketch. However, I'm pre-recording these, so I'm never sure what day they're going to pick and I can't give them shout outs through my voiceovers because these have already been pre-recorded. That being said, I will make sure to include if there's anyone additional playing on that day in my Instagram. So if you're wanting to see another look at it, if you are on Instagram, you can definitely see, and I'll have their name, which you can click on to go to their account and see their layouts. I know for sure Sarah Scraps is playing Moira and Daisy. So definitely check them out on the days that they choose to play. And yeah, when you look at this layout, it is kind of basic, but it definitely tells the story of my little guy. So he is my youngest of three. So this is Barrett. And I'm assuming because he is the youngest of 3, and so he has an older brother and sister to watch, and he just wants to go play with them, is why he is hitting these milestones so much quicker than his brother and sister did. Jackson was quick too. Jackson walked before he was even 1. Nora, I think Nora was walking before 1 too. She started walking before Jackson had even started walking in their age range. And Barrett it's just over 9 months when I'm doing this voiceover, and he's close to being able to stand. So I say by Christmas for sure he should be walking. It's just he's flying. He learned to crawl really quickly. He would go do that thing where they're on their hands and knees like that, and he'd rock back and forth. And it was like he was unsure of himself for the longest time, but once he realized he could put his hands in front of the other and then just kind of scooch his little legs a little bit, and he kind of figured that out, then that was the end of it. He was done and was crawling, and now he crawls so fast that sometimes you have to run to keep up with him before he gets into other stuff. So it's really fun. I do like this stage when he's exploring and learning about his surroundings and wants to play with his brother and sister and kind of chasing them around and all of that. It's a really fun stage. So fun to document. I love this memory, and I am pretty darn happy with the way that this layout turned out. I love the sequins, and it all makes me really happy. So you're going to see my finished take in just a moment, and I will see everybody tomorrow with another layout. We're on to day 8, I believe. Oh my goodness, we're doing good. A weekend. There you go. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Bye.